Hey, hey, homies, what's up? It is I, Ryan Wynn, and this is Late Night Inks. How are you all doing? Thank you all for joining tonight. This is awesome. We got 900 subscribers. Before we get started, I thought I'd show you guys a bunch of noise, like me dropping brushes and, being my usual prepared professional self. Can you guys hear me well and everything? Was that all a big loud jumble in all of your headphones as well? Really sorry about that. Anyways, this here is a piece from Hammerella. Coloring this up today. And yeah, sounds good. Thank you, Eric Housel. Welcome, Yang Yan Zhao. Hey, Gingerton, good to see you again. El Padrino. Mijo, how are you doing? We got Arnie Gordon. He is ready. Come on, Ink King. Okay, we are here. We are ready. We got some people going. I think I'm going to play the theme music and get myself set up. So here we go. Give us any chance, we'll take it. Read us any rules, we'll break it. We're gonna make our dreams come true. Doing it our way. Nothing's gonna hold us back now. Straight ahead and on the track now. Gonna make our dreams come true. Doing it our way. Hello, once again, everybody. Thank you for gathering, and I want to thank all of you for helping support the channel and helping to spread the word because we've broken 900 subscribers. Really excited about that. And the other day, I was on a show with our a new homie called Purple Smurf 13, and I drew this Jack Walker U.S. agent, the black suited Captain America. And this was a favorite visual character of mine as a kid. And I sort of, obviously Captain America's everyone's hero, but it's kind of nice to just throw some wrenches in the storyline like this. So what are we doing tonight? It's an ink along. We've got this, this image is available down below in gray pencil form or blue pencil form. And you can print it up or drop it into your favorite digital app and digitally ink it up yourself. I am using Strathmore, I think this is just 300 Bristol. I'm using my favorite brush, my Raphael 8404 size 2, name of Stinger, because she is oh so sharp. The ink we are using is a Black India ink from Rapidograph, just the old Ultra Draw. We're going to be testing out some different inks here in the next coming weeks, and we'll do some reporting and some videos on that. So we've already been going a couple minutes here. Let's get started. We can do a little Q&A after if you guys want. I will be head down inking and chatting, and I will be every 5 to 10 minutes or so, I will scan through the chat. We all know I usually do it much more frequently than that, but we're going to try to get started for those that are not watching live, that are waiting for the ink along to start. Here we go. We're going to do our contours first. We can be nice and bold on these. Let me make sure I'm in frame. Our figure is going to be solid black. So you can be as heavy as you'd like on these lines and cut in as far into the black area as you'd like. I'm going to leave a little fake highlight line there. Now, normally I ink these up and then provide you with a blue line version of the inks. Today, since we're doing this live, I didn't have that ready yet. So with the, I like to move slow with the brush, but I will be picking up the pace. You don't have to keep up with me. You can ink at your own pace. I've been doing this for a long time. I was an inking professional in the comic book industry for almost 20 years. I've been making comics since I was a little kid, so I have tons of experience with a brush and a pen, so don't let that be an intimidating factor to you to start or to ink along with us. These ink alongs are for everybody, and today's is a particularly simple one in that it's big black shapes and just a few lines. And I even gave you an opportunity to whip out a ruler if you'd like, a little background element. Some of you guys have been adding these on your own. I was like, hey, I don't want to be left out in the cold. So feel free to add the sorry, I hit the camera there, the crest behind his head, or do your own thing. If you want to make it Captain America, if you want to make this Steve Rogers himself, go ahead, slap an A on his forehead and call him Stevie. This is just about us having fun, uh, exploring a craft that is kind of scary yet extremely rewarding. And that's the craft of inking. So I do have a little bit of method to some of my madness. I like to do the contour lines first. Often when we're talking, I will get lost in what I was supposed to be doing. And I'll end up starting to noodle on the face or the eyes. But I like to sort of have a system, an outline, the shapes, identify the objects in the picture. And one of my little formulas for moving cleanly and having clean, slick lines is my approach to it. So I line up my shots first. We're gonna blow on that. Wait for that to dry. We want this guy to dry. You know what? I'm gonna touch down. It's just a little tiny spot. There we go. So lining up your shot. This is where we want the line to end. This is where it's gonna start. And I'm gonna put my arm straight, my wrist straight with my elbow right to center of that arc or arch. And we'll get heavier as we go under. We'll do the opposite here. So just line up really quick and then do that. So pretty much every line I throw, I'm doing a quick setup like that. And I learned that approach mentally playing basketball in high school. I had a coach and he said, you imagine every shot going in, but before you shoot it, but you don't just imagine it making it. It's not just like, oh, I just picture the basket. You picture your hand going up, doing the right gesture, imagining the muscle control and seeing the arc that the ball's going to fly, and then just boom, 1 second later doing that with your arms and your hands. So that's sort of how I approach inking. I line up my shot, but I do it physically, not just mentally, since in basketball you don't have time to do that, but in inking you do. Not everyone's approach is the same. I don't expect how I ink to necessarily work for everybody. I've worked with people in studios for many years and we've tried each other's techniques and they just didn't work for each other. Yet many of the techniques we used were similar. Because kind of no matter what, your own style always comes through. There's something to that. So I see the chat kind of going past. I will be catching up to it. I'll take a break here in a few minutes and we'll catch up on the chat. So if you do have questions and I miss it, always feel free to ask it ask it again. Ask it a Gwen. Ask it a win. Hey, ask it a win. I want to thank all of you for joining us, and I want to thank all of you who have been watching and participating in the Geronimo draw streams on Tuesdays, or any of his draw streams when he does Geronimo draws. But on Tuesdays we have our Alterna plus Jeff crew, and we've been having a lot of fun with that. El Padrino did a great rendition of yours truly here this week. I won't be pulling it up. We're all ages here. I need to make a clean version of it so that I can share it because it's hilarious. And we have another friend that's doing a comic ship piece, and I don't want to say who or what he's doing, but we've got some fun arts coming this way that we'll be sharing on the channel. And in next week's video, I will be highlighting and posting everyone's ink-alongs from the last week. We had Long Shot, and a bunch of you are going back and doing other videos. I see Arnie was in the crowd earlier, and he's been doing a couple, and they've been looking really nice, really nice brush line choices. All right, we're gonna go through and do the costume, or the eye slits on the costume. Heavy on the underside here, kind of hinted his eyebrow sticking out maybe. And then lighter on this top side. All right, we're gonna go in and do some little lines here. Now, when I do these little like circles, semicircles, half circles, I hold the brush as upright as possible. As possible, and that way I can control how much of the brush tip is hitting the paper at any point. So even though we're going around in a circle, I can keep the brush from bending and keep it sort of a straight line, almost like a pen. Or what do you call it? Not a straight line, but a evenly weighted line. There we go. Yeah, when I used to do conventions, I've had people like legitimately get mad at me because they think some of these lines are done with a tech pen and an ellipse. And I'm like, no, I use the brush and I hold it a certain way so it gets a clean edge on both sides, and it's sort of a dead weight. And oh man, I had this French guy once. It's just like almost, well, he's kind of yelling. I don't want to say yelling because that sounds over dramatic, but he was raising his voice. He was like, "This is not the brush. This is not. You did not ink this with the brush." I was like, "No, I did." And like, I was thinking, I'm like, man, maybe I should just admit to, or like say I did. I didn't, just to like get him to cool off. But he didn't want to hear that. But I stuck to the truth. I was like, "No, man, I did it with a brush. I don't have a brush here, otherwise I'd show you." All right, we are going to fill in the pupils right now, and then I'm gonna wash off my brush and take a look at the chat, see what you guys are talking about. I'm sure you guys are talking about yourselves or saying something like, "Dude, your mic's not working, we can't hear you." And I'm like, "Rah, rah, 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 la 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 la." All right, let's wash the brush and see who's here. Hey, Ty Ranger, my man is in the house. We got Simon7 hanging out. What is up, everybody? All right, I'm gonna scroll back a couple of minutes. Got Skip Edwards in the house. What's up, Skip Edwards? Good to see you, buddy. He says, "Hey, what's up, guys?" I see a "Hey, Paulus" from Simon7. Figure that's Paulus Arts. And Matthew Nickerson, probably the first colorist I think of these days when I'm working on these pieces, because I'm like, am I going to color this, or do I want to just throw up the black and white and see what Matthew does with it? So make sure you follow Matthew, guys. He's a great follow over on Instagram or Twitter. He takes pieces like this or classic pieces, black and white, whatever, pieces from all different artists from all across the web, and colors them up in his way. Excuse me, and usually does some sort of backdrop treatment, logo, something like that. They're really fun. And apparently he's rather new to coloring. I wasn't really sure about that. And then, but he keeps improving. I really like his color choices and the selections he's making. And he's getting bolder and bolder, and he's starting to do more rendering and things like that. So thanks for hanging out, Matthew. Can't wait to see you color this. And I'll be sure to put it in a video here too. Yes, he gave me El Padrino gave me the boobs. The picture is a fantastic piece too. There he is. Paulus Arts. He's laughing at something. What's up, buddy? Uh-oh, special brush that creates pixelated lines. Was I roboting out here? Is my internet or Ryan lines are showing up a bit pixelated, kind of aliased? Uh-oh. Is everything all right? I hope everything's all right. Might be because I got two computers running on the stream. I got my desktop and my phone running here. We'll see. Let me know if it's any better. Hey, Brenda Rubin's here. What are we doing? Ryan, you got here and then doesn't show up. I call shenanigans. Hey, wait, I showed up. What's going on? And now let's see if we've all caught up. Demon Inc. Studios, what is up? Looks okay to El Padrino. It could be on my end too, though. You never know. Could have come and gone. Demon Inc. Studios, homie Merc from over on Twitter. Um, all around great dude. We met in an Alterna fan group, and he is a musician, writer, uh, artist, all around craftsman and artist. Young student, college student, learning all the tricks of the trade, which I'd love to see. Right, I'm loading up my brush again. Gonna get back into it. If I miss any questions, drop it right now before I go head down to the board again. Otherwise, it'll be a couple minutes and then I'll check it again. So with the brush, you want to dip about halfway to 2/3. You don't want to go too far. You don't want to get in the habit of ink getting stuck up in the ferrule here, this metal part here. That will affect how much ink your brush can hold and the shape of the brush. They are very delicate about what parts they use for these, and you want to be delicate with how you treat them. All right, before one more look at the chat here. We've got Brenda saying hi to Rocket. He's in the other room sleeping. I couldn't get him to come out. Meow, 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 meow to Rocket. Thank you, Brenda. And Brenda's got an awesome shirt that she made and sent me, and I haven't been able to grab it from the shop yet. I thought I was going to be working at the shop a bunch of times this week, and I haven't been. So I'm gonna get that. We'll debut it the next time I'm live. Brenda's awesome. Hey, Simon and Seven's talking to Padrino. He says, finally saw your Chiron Morval. Really impressed. The composition reminded me of an old book cover by very good artists. Yeah, really love that piece. I was going to be drawing a Chiron Morval piece this week too, and when I saw that, no thanks. Didn't want to compete. All right, Arnie Gordon is inking along, so he's like, come on, man, get to it. Get to it. Or maybe he's not waiting for me. And RC Gates, hey, he's saying things look great. That's super nice of you to say. Thank you for stopping by or hanging out. We're going to get back to it here. And now these lines can be bold too. These are going to be highlights. And I'm going to go solid black on his costume. I don't often do solid black. I usually do some form of rendering or shading. But we are going to do that. And something I forgot to do here is some thick to thins on this earpiece that is away from us so that it kind of fades behind his head. Your piece is a little different than my piece. I had some technical difficulties, which I always have something going on like that. And I had to draw up a second piece for me. So mine is very similar, but it's got a few different lines. But I'm really excited to see what everybody comes up with. I've been really stoked to see everyone do their own takes, and doubly excited to see people that aren't necessarily inkers or even artists taking up the challenge and trying it out. Because it does take a little bit of nerve to ink, but it is fun and it is rewarding. And if you're too worried about like, oh, it's not going to be professional looking, then you're never going to start and you're never going to get to the place where it either can be, or even if you're just looking for a hobby or a craft to enjoy, which is sort of what I like to push on this channel is, this isn't necessarily for the super experienced artist. You don't have to be an artist, but you can take out a ballpoint pen, print this up on some printer paper. You don't have to use the same tools. But I do like it to also be a place where artists and craftsmen can come to hone their skills, is why I discuss placement of the hand and the mechanics of inking. All right, we've got a few more here. And I'm going to break out a bigger brush to fill in the solid blacks. I got size 4 here. Now, if you haven't used the Raphael brushes and you're used to, but you have used Winsor & Newton and you're curious, the sizing is a little bit different. I believe the Raphaels run a little bit bigger, so their size 2 is bigger than the Winsor & Newton size 2. Winsor & Newton still makes decent brushes, but for a while, about a decade ago, they were really inconsistent, and I had a bunch of poor ones, and I just devoted myself to the Raphael because I kept getting nicer and nicer brushes from them. I do have a few watercolor brushes that I'm going to be trying out that some other artist friends use that don't they don't do comic books, but I like the line work that they get, and we're going to be trying those out. Now is the time where we can, let's see, we're gonna, whoa, try not to hit the camera there, sorry everybody. We're gonna break out our ruler, I'm gonna break out a marker, and I'm gonna take a swig of water. A little water for the brush, a little water for the Ink King. And we're just gonna take a normal old marker here, and we are gonna get to, whoa, hitting the camera again. Sorry about that. Professionalism here is dropping by the hour. All right, this is, if you are confused, this is not Captain America. If you missed the beginning, you're just tuning in. You're like, what's with the weird Captain America symbol in the background? It's not Captain America. This is U.S. Agent, and he was another super soldier that was brought in sort of as a replacement to Steve Rogers, but one that could be more like Batman or Wolverine, a little tougher, beat him up. Didn't have the super charm, all-American boy attitude. That's kind of all I remember. But in my head, man, these Kierwin Dwyer images are just burned in my head. I see the chat going by. I will get back to it in just a minute. I'm gonna wrap up some of this stuff, and before we hit the solid black areas, we'll check the chat again. So yeah, I'm kind of curious if you guys know of and or remember this character. I might be completely butchering stuff because you guys know I don't do research before I do these shows. Draw the characters I want to draw, and I come on here and I talk some nonsense with you guys. If Matthew Nickerson is still in the crowd, I will try to get this scanned tonight. If not, at least take a really nice digital picture of it, square on, so you can, I don't know if you color on a tablet or what you do, but that way you can just, drop it into your program and color it up. All right, now I don't necessarily recommend you do this, but these lines are ruled out nicely. I'm going to freehand the star. Now we're going to fill it in black. And one thing you want to be mindful of too is not all inks mesh. So the ink in this pen that I'm using, oops, messed up, but the star is going to be black, so that's okay. The ink in this pen is, I think it's like dye-based or something, so it does not mix well with the ink that I'm using with my brush, which is fine in this instance. Keep missing that line. Because it's just a few spots, but if I was trying to do like clean bleeds out of that or something, it would gum up the end of the brush. All right, we're gonna put those away. We're gonna let that dry for 1 second so that we don't smear or smudge it any more than bing, bing, bing. We already did. And I'll do one more pass through the comments here. Let's see, I'm gonna scroll back a little bit. I see Christopher, I can't talk tonight. Christopher John is showing up. Hey, what's up, Christopher John? He has become a favorite artist of mine in the little Twitter YouTube verse, sketching live stream artist. He's got this really unique style. It's almost like a really cartoony Bisley. There's a couple other artists it reminds me of, like Keith Giffen, the artist, the comic guy, not the music guy. Yeah, great stuff. Everyone's saying hi to Chris. What's up, buddy? Simon and Seven says, any good low to mid budget pens for an Android tablet? I do not know that, but somebody here in the chat might. If not, we might be able to ask Jeff Elkins or something like that. I only know of the Apple Pencil. That's what I use. El Padrino says, "Does the royal family get mad at you for calling yourself the Ink King?" At Ryan Wynn, actually, no, they can't because legally I am a king. Years and years ago, there was a company, or I guess they're still around, called Cards Against Humanity, and they used to run all these really cool, crazy campaigns that you could buy into. And one of the things they did was they bought a castle in Great Britain and Ireland, and made everyone that participated in buying the castle, you got to be king for a day, basically, however they broke up the time. So that in the books, I was legally a king of this one castle in Ireland for a day. So they cannot take that my paper crown from me. Simon and Seven says brushwater is the blood of the inkers. Yeah, it's so funny. I used to make jokes about, drinking it and stuff like that. And there's people that are so, I don't want to say gullible, but they're devoted to the idea of things like that, that when they hear someone say it, they don't pick up that it's a joke. They're like, "What? Really?" I'm like, no, no, I do not drink. I do not drink the ink water. Uh, Story time with Yang Yan Zhao says, everything got edgier in the 80s. Everything got crazy in the 90s. And then everything got extreme in the 2000s. Now, extreme. Kino Subway, very cool dude, had me on his channel. Always has a good little hangout show. He does a morning roast. They also do a Saturday roast, so check him out over on YouTube here. He says, I remember when I was small and first read a book with US agent in it and thinking about how grumpy he was, but I still liked him. LOL. Yeah, that's what was funny about him. But there's something to characters with confidence and charisma. That's why we like the originally like Wolverine too, where you're like, man, this guy's mean and he slices people up, but he is his own man. He acts confidently. Things like there's something like that's kind of attractive, even if it's not you want to be that person or be like that person. There's something to watching that person or that character. Ty Ranger says, better question than mine. Wait, did I miss one of your questions, Ty? I'm trying to scroll on my phone without. Do any pros get mad at you for calling yourself the Ink King? Yeah, I've had a couple people be like pretty sarcastically sour about it, but they weren't hiding their sourness. I thought it was weird. That's why I always try to point out, like, yeah, I'm wearing a paper crown, you dummies. And it's mostly a play on the word inking. So there's that whole thing. But if people don't get that, whatever. That's their problem. If they're not here to have fun with us, I don't care what they think. Right. So I have taken out my big old clunker, my size 4. It's a big old bad boy of a Raphael 8404. We are loading them up. This is a him. He does the heavy loading. It's a him. No offense, ladies. One last look here. We got a Benjamin Soto, 27 minutes late, and you're already done. Not quite. We're still working on it, and since we're live, we can hang out for a few minutes afterwards and talk or hang out, whatever you want. Look at some different art. Everyone's saying hello to Benjamin. Ty is taking off, so take care, Ty. Real life is calling him. See you in the next one. Thank you, buddy. Thank you for hanging out as always. Hey, Christopher John's still hanging out. Thank you for your kind words, Ryan. It means a lot coming from you. Hey, should mean a lot coming from everybody because everyone should be checking out your work. All right, so the method for spotting blacks. This was a job that I had as a young assistant. And close this off here. We're gonna close this off like that and like that. And when the art would come to me, it would be inked sort of like it is now, but there would be these X's everywhere. And these X's would mean to fill in those areas black. And they'd be all over the places you're supposed to fill in black. So that was your job. And normally you'd slowly outline with either a fat marker or maybe even a brush marker or something. Sometimes I would do a brush, but a lot of the assistants would use a pen. You sort of outline the area first, some nice thick lines, and then you can bear down with your big old brush and fill in, and you don't have to worry about going outside the lines necessarily. Now, I ink with a rather heavy brush line anyways, so I don't usually have that problem. But I do still like to sort of have a little bit of method and outline the areas first. This is almost similar to when I'm working with a lasso tool digitally. I won't necessarily go around and outline the whole head like that. I'll do a section like this and then fill in the black. And I'll sort of do that when I'm doing this too, because that way you can unload a bunch of ink here while sharpening your brush. I don't scrub, everything goes in one direction. And then sort of repeat over here. And then nice and heavy again. And you want to move slow when you do all this stuff. I had a tendency to want to move fast when I was an assistant. We were always on deadline, we were always in a rush, and you always wanted to show your speed. But one of the things I learned, especially using brush, is speed comes with time. You move slow and precise with a lot of deliberation. And then before you know it, you're moving faster and faster. But the faster you move in the beginning, you'll probably teach yourself to be a pretty sloppy inker. Right, these are pretty bold lines here. Now I feel like I can go almost full brush length, laying down on the side like that. Now you can go back and forth if you lift up, maybe even like kind of twist the brush back. I don't really like doing that. I already saw a few hairs drag. I like to keep it all in one direction, but yeah, try not to scrub with your brush unless you're, of course, that's your style. If you got a dry brush effect that you like to get, then have at it. I want to see everyone's different takes on this. One of my wrenches, Ty Ranger, who has, wow, what I was going to say almost sounded like he was dead, who has recently left us, but now he just bailed from the chat. He does his own thing, and it's incredible. I love his take on my inks, and I love what he does on. He's been printing up some different Marvel pencilers and doing things, and he has his own sort of dead weight line rendering that he adds to the faces and cloth and stuff like that, and it's not there at all in my pieces. And I love seeing those sort of different takes and approaches. Mark Deering, a professional inker that is a really nice guy, really good inker. He's been doing these in chunks. I'll get maybe 5 at a time from him, and he's always adding some sort of background elements. Was it Ray Acevedo also did that? He was over on Instagram. There's starting to be so many of you. I'm like, oh no, I can't remember everyone's names, but I'm doing my best. I'm doing my best. And Sherman Tevayan, Corey King's always an awesome participant that is building himself awesome inking portfolio. I know I'm always the downer that I'm like, well, there's not really an inking career out there. Well, there might be again someday. And either way, like I always say, this is such a rad craft. It's hard to explain to people that haven't gotten into it. It's like, wait, you really like tracing? Yes, I really like tracing. You would too if you tried it out. All right, we've got his whole face filled in now. The ink's drying relatively quickly, but we are still going to do one more thing before we fill in these blacks. We are going to, what are we going to do? We're going to do the bleeds here on his neck and shoulder. I need to get my brush. I got a scrap board on the side. I'm going like this. I got a piece of scratch board over there. I'm basically wicking off a bunch of extra ink. And let's see, I'm going to do a test here. See how I want to do this. Right, really bad on these lines. Flick on these ones. And I'm getting a little bit of dry brush, a little bit of split end on there, and I'm gonna leave it. It's coming out consistent, and it'll actually kind of give like a leathery texture to our bad boy here. And that's just kind of rolling with it. I was gonna make those super sharp, but my big old clunker brush here was like, I ain't feeling too sharp right now, Chief. And I was like, it's all right, buddy. You just push through. Just do your job. And let's see. Sorry, I'm concentrating. I had to clean up this line here. Blooped outside a little. All right, so now we can once again almost go full brush length. And back this way. And now spotting those blacks, filling in them blacks. Yeah, we used to get, I think it was $5 per page, something like that. $2 per panel. I forget, when I first started, it was really low. But I mean, it's menial work, and you're getting to hang out in the studio and learn the craft. So, but it was something I had worked long enough in Danny Mickey's studio that when I went on to work with Joe Weems and John Levisay at their studio, I had sort of earned like elite assistant status. So like normally their other assistants couldn't take the work home, but I had proven myself with Danny Mickey, and that was how we worked at Danny Studios. You know, you worked there some of the time, and then you took stuff home. So my whole thing was like, no, this is how I work the best. You want the best? You think I'm the best, and you want the best from me? You let me work in the way that's the best. And then the rate for spotting blacks, I think I made them pay me double or triple what they normally paid people. And then it ended up being, I worked with them so long, just like with Danny, that I worked my way up to splitting pages. I did a bunch of stuff with Brad Walker and John Levisay on inks, Brad Walker on pencils, and then Weems and I shared everything at Top Cow for years. Bunch of darkness stuff, some Will stuff on artifacts, like literally splitting characters. I would ink half a character, he would ink half a character. All right, we're gonna go in and fill in this black, and then we're gonna be done, and we can do a little Q&A if you guys want. Hang out for a couple minutes before I gotta go get back to slamming through Hammerella pages. So if I did miss a question, feel free to pop it in the chat here in the next minute or so, and I'll be sure to check it out. And here you can see the technique on the star. You can use this anywhere where you've got something like this, whether it's a straight edge, a round edge, or you've got a corner like that. Just start with a thin, just boop, the point touching right in the end, and then pull back and bear down. Don't try to go from thick to thin, because then you risk going outside the line and messing up your star. And nobody wants to do that. All right, so now we're just going to take a few more passes around our bad boy here. And there's a lot of extra ink on the brush. So we're just going to keep filling in a second layer, third layer in some parts of the black. It's going to be a really, really solid jet black piece. Even after erasing, when you put a couple layers on. And that was another job we had as an assistant. You erase the pages because nobody liked doing that. All right, it's starting. No, still got some ink on it. Still getting a lot of mileage out of this one. Yeah, I never minded doing the erasing, but yeah, you have fast and vigorous. So if you were spotting the black areas as the assistant, you wanted to also be on eraser duty or vice versa. Because if you were on spotting duty, you would make those black areas so solid that when you erase later, you're not lifting up any black whatsoever. I forgot we got some black shadows under the ears here. This stood out to me once I saw it on screen. There we go. All right, U.S. agent, all inked. There is the bell of satisfaction. Having a piece done. It is also known as rinsing the brush out in the jar. All right, we got one last task. A little spot of black there to fill in, and then we have our signature. So I'm going to sign right here. You ink my signature as well, and then ink your name underneath, ink your signature underneath. And if you'd like me to put this in a video, your version in a video, put your @ nice and big across the bottom. Don't think about it interrupting the art or anything like that. Oh, look at this. Look what I did. Look. We're going to let it dry, and we are going to hit that with some whiteout because this is going to happen. This is going to happen to you if you're working with a traditional medium. No matter how careful, no matter how experienced, this is going to happen. Happened to me on day one. Some of you guys have heard the story. I was day one at Danny Mickey's studio working on Spawn, inking away, doing some backgrounds, and there's this kid's face, and right off the tip of my nib, this black blob of ink went right in the kid's forehead, and I was so scared. And Danny came over, he dried up, whited it out. He said, "See, it's that easy." And then he was like, "Don't do it again." But yeah, we work in a black and white medium, so that is going to happen. Peter Engstrom. Yeah. It is funny. I've been doing this long enough and made enough of those mistakes that I don't sweat it as much. Now, that'd be a different story if I had smudged across his eyes or something like that. But this is funny because this goes back to me saying it didn't matter if I mixed the inks. This should have been dry, but where the inks weren't mixing well, it's gummed up and weird and not drying properly. So lesson learned. Never afraid to never be afraid to admit your mistakes. Hyper Potato. I wonder if he's related to a kaiju. I'm not sure, but Hyper Potato says if it's messed up, send it to them. All right, I'm gonna scroll back a little. Let's see what we got here. Everybody's chatting it up. How far back do we go? There we go. I think now we're here. Kino Subway says, yeah, that's what I realized when I got a little older. They're talking about something else. I love it when people have their own conversations going on. And Simon7 says, I hear Counting Crows Rain King every time you say Ink King. Count your crows before they hatch. Put the X's in there, Ryan, for old time's sake. I still do sometimes on pieces that I'm doing myself. Not so much digitally, but traditionally, I do. It does kind of work as a good kind of guide too, just to like your mind imagines that that's all filled in black, and you can kind of see how it's going to work. Jesse Marsh says, "What ink do you use, Mr. Win?" This round, we are using Black India ink, the Rapidograph Ultra Draw. I like the way it works off the brush. It does take a couple layers to be nice and black, but it doesn't erase. It doesn't lift much when you erase, and I really like that about it. Plus, it's very affordable. But we're going to be playing with a bunch of different inks this year. It's been a while since I did a round of playing with ink, and we're going to do that. Paulus Arts asks, how long before you found out BWS stands for Black with Stars, not Barry Windsor Smith? Yeah, that's another funny thing. What he's referring to is unlike the X's I was showing to place the black areas in, when you have a space scene, you will do BWS for Black with Stars. But many of us grew up with Barry Windsor Smith and his signature BWS. So it was kind of funny once you saw that on an original board. I think all of us, whether you're at a con or meeting an artist or wherever you saw it, you kind of were just looking at it for a second, like, why did they write his name, his initials all over this? Brenda Rubin says, this is amazing. I assume she means this gathering of awesome people in the chat. Simon7 says, all that ink makes you want to lick it. Yes, there is something delicious looking about wet ink on the board. I always want to touch it. I want to rub my hands in it. I want to get my inky fingers all inky and smudgy. And Ginger Chin says, I love the chin on your male characters, Ryan. You know, it's one of those things, it started out kind of as a joke, and then it just kind of stuck with me. And if I try to do them with any less now, it looks weird. But it is always more in camera, but I still put a healthy mug of a chin on them. Skip Edwards Art says, I think a lot of freelance inkers could make some cans of they start inking digital artists. So for crowdfunded books, that way there's more original pages to go around. Yes, sorry, I think I misread some stuff there, but yeah, I think we're gonna start seeing some of the older traditional methods employed more into the crowdfunding indie scene. There already are a few books that they have teams of creators, but I think we're going to start seeing that more and more. I mean, look at like Artsy Designs and a bunch of Corey King and a bunch of you dudes that are coming up with these inking portfolios. That even though there isn't much of an industry via the big two or career choices there, which there haven't been actual good career choice. There were jobs and there were fun books to work on, but if you were trying to raise a family and pay rent, those jobs are gone as of at least 10 years ago. But if it's something you're doing on the side, there's amazing opportunities for you to do these fantastic books, like fantastic creators. I mean, just I can't say anything about the stuff we got planned right now, but yeah, I think we're going to be seeing a lot more inkers on indie books, where pencilers are going to be learning, like, dude, there's all these guys with these awesome inking skills. I'm good with a pencil, but I'm not that good at inking, and let's get this guy to do that, because they're not going to be held back by the corporations that are, hey, you can't. We want to save a buck here or there. We're all funding these ourselves and doing it individually, but there's something you can crowdfund. If you got a job, you can pay your inker. The inker can get partial credit or stuff on the back end too. You can work out all kinds of deals. There's all kinds of ways, but I do think we're going to be seeing a lot more of that in this next year or two. And now I'm rambling. Cash, yes, I'm sorry. What was the type? Oh, can make some cash if they start inking digital artists. So yes, for crowdfund book. Yeah, so we were on the same page. Hey, D. Hausner, what's up? Another great indie creator. Love it when D shows up. Hey, El Padrino, I ain't no Jimmy Reyes bringing up David Finch all the time. He's giving me crap about bringing up Danny Mickey. Don't think he ever mentioned that before. Get out of here. Paulus Art says, I like the idea of using ink, but I always get it somewhere on me and end up smudging it all over. It took me years, literally years and years, to not get it on my elbows. We would go to family events and I'd have it all over my elbows, and then it'd be, smudging in the car or tablecloths or people's couches, things like that. Paul starts says, I remember you mentioning memes before. Uh, I don't know who I've probably mentioned more. Probably Danny Mickey. He's the bigger name drop. So, yes, I have done that on some streams. Siminin, correct. All right, you guys are having fun with that. I see it. I see it. See if there's any legit questions that I'm missing out on here. All right, Arnie Gordon, looks like he's probably already gone. See you in a few. Thanks, Inking. And we are back to the end. Paul's Art says, Richard Friend's Blaster King is going to be dope. And he says, Richard Friend bringing up Travis Jarris all the time. Yeah, see, that's one of the things I hated about being an inker is you always felt like you were riding somebody's coattails, whether you actually were or weren't. And it was always so weird like that. And you couldn't present anything of your own without having to either showcase these other creators or whatever. So there's always that weird aspect to it. And we've just kind of become used to it. But yeah, in the beginning, you're like, man, I got to bring up this guy all the time. But yeah, Richard's Richard's such a good artist. I've been collecting his non-comic stuff for years, his Black Series prints and things like that. Hey, Colton Swinborn just showed up. Sorry to be late to the party, but he is here. We'll take a swig of water for you. All right. Colin is another one of the many Australian fans that we have. And he's a great supporter of the indie creators and also a participant of the Death Curse 24-hour comic event that we've been doing. We had some sad events that have postponed us these last couple weeks, but we will get back to it next Friday. And the same teams up and is drawing over on Tuesdays, like I mentioned earlier, over on Robert Geronimo's channel, Geronimo Draws. I forgot to put a link down below, but if you're watching the rerun, hopefully I have done that already. El Padrino says, Ryan, when Brenda was asking, how do you pick the characters for the late night inks? So a lot of the characters are picked by you guys. People are still and have still, or I still have the list of everyone that signed up on the mailing list for Hammerella and for my website, which is actually the same mailing list now. And when you sign up, you get an email back from us asking what character you would like. And if we choose your character, I draw it up, ink it up on the show, and then send it your way. I also do some just based on what do I feel like doing? What do I feel like that week? I have realized that people don't necessarily want me to pick obscure or strange characters. We're going to do a series purposefully like that. We're going to do like Grips and a bunch of other obscure characters from the 80s. But I try to pick a popular character, and even though I don't really like I don't really care about drawing Marvel characters. I like to draw the Marvel characters that meant something to me when I was young, or that I thought were cool or important. Just like last week, see if I got it handy here. Last week we did one of my favorite mutants, which is I can't get it's out of reach, but we did Longshot. And then the third way that I choose is actually the way that this one came about. I don't think he's watching the show because it's too late for him, but this is going to be going to somebody that had invited me on their show, and I wanted to thank them for that. So that's the third way that I've chosen is sometimes I'll do it as a gift, and not just don't invite me on your channel and think you get a free drawing from me or something like that. It's not how it works. But yeah, that's how I mostly do it. So it's mostly the first two. It's either the email list, and if it's not that, it's me wanting to do something nostalgic. Oh crikey, I didn't Jerry. This was a live one. Yeah, live in like not just me live in the chat, buddy, but I am live. Still waiting on my character to show up because it'd be a fun one to see. Yeah, see, that's another thing. The list, I'm blind to the list. I don't know who's chosen the characters. I just have the character list. That way I'm not choosing any favorites. So don't tell me yet, but if it goes too long and I don't get to yours, um, we'll figure it out. Simonin says, now that you mention, I think you should be very good with either Death's Head. Those would be fun. Yeah, if you're talking about me, I think those would be fun to draw. And Roswell says, "Don't worry, Ryan. I won't invite you onto my non-existent channel." I bet your non-existent channel would be a lot of fun, though. You're a funny dude. And if you guys haven't, speaking of another funny dude, sorry, jamming my words up. Speaking of another funny dude, everyone knows Ara Jalenian, but not everyone knows that he started live streaming, and he's going through his origin story now. Tonight he did part 2 before the Peter Samedi soul-crushing portfolio review series that he started. Which, boy, I don't know if I can watch portfolio review series. That's it's not really my thing. I don't like giving portfolio reviews, and I don't like watching souls get crushed. But be sure to check out Ara's channel. All right, this is dry. I'm looking around for what handy whiteout I have here without knocking my camera around. So we are going to use a Office Studio Standard Tradition Presto marker. Shake these bad boys up with your maracas. This is exactly what the first inker I ever worked with in his studio, whose name will not be dropped, is exactly what he used to clean up. And oh, of course, this one's jammed now. Wonderful. Wonderful. Let's try a different one. But anyway, so this guy that taught me how to use this, he used to use those pens, like they have the big fat ballpoint pen, and he would use them and be able to use them at an angle and get really fine lines with them. Again, I don't want to drop the inker's name. I don't want to sound like I'm braggy, but he was inking Greg Capullo's Creech at the time, and man, he could use those big fat Presto markers and make it look like a Hunt 102 nib with white ink. Like he could get a nice bloop on the end and then a thin and a thick and go thick to thins with it. But he worked lightning quick with it. All right, you let your layer dry, put on a thin layer, let it dry. There you go. And someday I will pull out I have print of I'll be Jimmy Reyes and I'll pull out the David Finch, and I'll show you guys where I had to white out like a big old 2 by 2 inch chunk of the Bat Cave and redraw it. That was a lot of fun. So there, fix the star. So we're gonna go about 2 more minutes if you guys got questions. And if not, we just call it right now. I'm scrolling back to see what I've missed here. Demon Ink Studios says it'd be interesting to see Ryan draw my character suggestion from the mailing list. His style and that type of character would warrant an interesting outcome. See, when you guys say stuff like that, I get so curious. It's probably something that has sparked my interest. A lot of the stuff on the list has been, things like I always bring up the Tom Selleck. That one stood out to me, or I should say Magnum PI as Tom Selleck. I have a lot of fun drawing stuff that isn't the standard comic book character. El Padrino says Pete was lovely. No, Pete was great. I just can't. I'm just portfolio reviews can be rough, man. Peter Engstrom says it wasn't that much of a bloodbath. Lots of good critiques. And let's see, jumped on me. Russell says maybe I should since my car got totaled today. Oh no, buddy, are you okay? First of all, make sure you didn't get totaled. Either way, that sucks, dude. I hate to hear that. Keep us posted on your health and the outcome of that. Brenda Rubin says, I would love to see you do some public domain characters. I keep finding cool ones that need to come back. Yeah, sometimes I see them and they have cool designs, but they never really call to me. But maybe that would be a theme that we do. Maybe I drop a few different headshots of them because I'm trying to think of different ways to incorporate some fun things like that. Or maybe it's like when we do a theme week, I'll do a few videos in a week and we'll do multiple little heads or I don't know, something like that. We'll figure something out. But it's not a bad idea though. All right. We're in our last minute here. Let's see what we got. Got to go buy a new one somehow. Ross says about his car. Yeah, dude, that is a bummer. Peter Engstrom says, I think you just answered my question from before. Looks great. Maybe it was something to do with the whiteout. Let's see. Looks like his wife was in the car. No obvious injuries. All right, that's fantastic to hear. Um, but yeah, keep an eye out though, because sometimes those concussions and those backaches sneak up on you. I've been in tons of car accidents. Ginge Gingerton says, "Hey Ryan, do you have any of your digital brushes available, or do you recommend any?" If you're working in Clip Studio, I definitely recommend um, Jimmy Reyes. And if you're working in Procreate, I have some that I'm developing. I got a couple friends that are playing with them. I'm not happy enough to give them out to the public quite yet. Real soon though, probably in the next month or two. But I just need to be able to devote time to developing them. They're going to be for Procreate only. But for now, I recommend Robert Marzullo has a couple nice ones, and I really like in Procreate. They have in the inking setting down at the bottom. A lot of people said they don't have it in the inking setting. There's a calligraphy pen that is what I'm one of the tools I'm manipulating. And just out of the box, I thought that one was great. But then I made it more like a Hunt 102. And yeah, so I recommend looking in there for that. Otherwise, the Procreate ones, some of them are good. I can't think of their standard one that's good. Um, like the Studio Pen is pretty nice. But yeah, I will have some for Procreate. Curious what app you're using. Colin says, "Do you still have your C64?" No, my dad has it. My dad actually still has it. Um, Rome Tiklan says, or Rome Tiklan says, "Are there any inkers whose work you admire?" Yes, quite a few. I mean, if we're talking standard superheroes kind of inkers, my absolute favorites are uh, Joe Weems, Scott, and and Matt Banning. If we're going a little bit older era, I was just looking at Hilary Barta's inks over. He did a fill-in issue over Mark Silvestri of X-Men years ago during Inferno, and they're some of the nicest inks. Extremely modern to today's standards. But yeah, who's like there's so many people. There's so many people I like, man. Um, for different reasons. You know, there's like Jeff Smith. I like his thick brush line on Razzle and Bone and things like that. I don't so much like the nitty gritty inkers like I was for so many years. That was just a studio in the house kind of superhero style. I like these sort of clean line brush inks like Carl Story would do over like Chris Sprouse, say. Carl Story is a fantastic brush inker. But yeah, across the board, Paul Neary, he's somebody that I always really liked. Sandra Hope, I can't believe I didn't mention her. Sandra Hope's right up there with Bat and Joe Weems, definitely. How about you? Any you like? Oh, we gotta get going. Oh, GJ Martinez showed up. What is up, buddy? Hope everything is great. Paul's Art says Matt Banning is so good. His inks over Shane Davis is my favorite of any team. Yeah, he did a great job over Shane. I see Padrino left. Ginge says they're using Clip Studio. Yeah, I recommend using Jimmy's. I only used them for like 2 days because I didn't really like the way Clip Studio worked on my tablet. But yeah, his pen, the pens were great. So yeah, highly recommend them. I think it's a pay what you want over on Gumroad. But Colton Swinborn says, good that my dad still has our Commodore 64. I'm going to need it when he finishes the code he's working on. And Phoenix Animation says 98 to go. Oh, I think he's talking about till 1,000. Thanks again for hanging out in the chat earlier. Yeah, no problem. You guys put on a great show. You guys are a fun couple of dudes interviewing people. So while I'm working, it's never a problem to put Black Rose Comics on and his ghost Phoenix Animation. Gigi Martin says, yes, thanks for asking. We're doing a lot better now. Thanks. All right, everybody. Well, I am going to get going. I have to get back to Hammerella pages. Here is a closer look at our U.S. agent for the night. Hit me up at Ryan Wynn on Twitter, or if you're on Instagram, hit me up on Instagram, however you want to hit me up. Let me know that you have inked a piece, and we'll get back to sharing everybody's. I got a bunch from this last week to share. And I'm sure a lot of people are gonna have fun with this one too. We got a couple more comments before I go. I see Peter Engstrom singing Hammerella. All right. No, we're not gonna play the song right now. Oh, Romantic Clan says Sandra Hope has their own YouTube channel. She's really good. I like Walden Wong's a good guy too, and Richard Friend. Yes, Tom Palmer, Joe Sinnott. Yes, all great guys. Mike Royer is actually my favorite Kirby inker. I absolutely love Mike Royer's line. I study it to this day. I still look at Mike Royer's line. Good night and take care, dude. You should get a Tandy. We're talking old computers here. I missed catching your streams and others. It's good to have you here, buddy. So here's the last look at the Emberhawk. Diving through, I think we can do this. And you can see the transition. So we have Hammerella falling, being chased by the Emberhawk. She's going to whisper her magic word, which summons her powers. She's going to zoom down faster than she was, covered in black smoke. She's going to, you can see it gets blurry. She pop into the cloud. Then she's going to pop out the bottom of the cloud. And as she passes, something in the clouds is glowing. And then whoosh, you're going to turn the page to the double page spread of the Emberhawk diving after her. And that's that. Brenda says good night to everyone. D. Hausner, hey, he seems to like it. He says, so rad. And well, thank you, everybody. I can't thank you enough. Good night, all. Hashtag Apple2C from Peter Engstrom. I'm going to play out our song to exit us. Thank you all so much. Take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and take it easy. Give us any chance, we'll take it.